One, two, one, two, one, one, one.
Hello, friends, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Chandi, and I'm a local real estate agent here in the DMV. For those of you that for those of you that don't know what that stands for, that is DC, Maryland, and Virginia, and I love what I do. Now, if you were to ask me years ago if I thought I would become a real estate agent or even as a child, what do you envision becoming when you're an adult? Real estate agent? Not it. I honestly, nowhere in sight. Now, fast forward to where I am today. I absolutely love what I do. I am all in. I actually started off as dual career, and I'll break down a little bit of my journey in a second. But honestly, to anyone who is in the midst of figuring out life and just trying to get on board and just get focused, you're exactly where you need to be. It may not feel like it all the time, but God has a way of using everything in its season and even for the next season. So I say this with love. You're exactly where you need to be. You're not behind. You're not too far ahead. You are literally right on time. Even if it may not feel like it, all things work together for your good. Now, let me take you back to my life in 2016 and kind of how that was the starting point for, I guess you can say, where I am now, right? So in 2016, I attended the illustrious Howard University. It was my last year. I was working it was my last year at school, and my mom passed away. My mom passed away literally like 4 days after my birthday, my 22nd birthday. And guys, when I tell you, like, it felt like God took a pin and popped the bubble I was in and was like, bam, hey, wake up. This is where character development begins. I had no choice but to move forward and just pick up the pieces of my life and just push. Literally, honestly, that's why I got this like a little tattoo, which is an arrow. It's finger tattoos always fade out, but I literally got it, I think like a week after she passed, just to remind myself, like, just push forward no matter what you do from this point on. You just have to go forward. But yeah, one of the next chapters that I ended up walking to in my life was becoming a personal trainer. So my mom passed of stress. It was a stress induced heart attack. And guys, when I tell you I do not play with stress, I mean, since then I just knew like, hey, if this is too much for me to take on, drop it. And I believe everybody should get to a point where they're like that too, because your life, it's not worth the chaos that runs on. Now, also, my mom was in a very toxic relationship with my father. He was medically identified as a narcissist. That's a whole nother story for another day. I know that's a term that is thrown around a lot, but no, guys, it is hurt people, generations. I feel like our parents, and it depends on culturally, right? My mom was from the islands. She was from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And then my dad was from Sri Lanka, which is South Asia. And, sometimes culture and just upbringing plays such a big role. And some people are not equipped to handle those emotions and, really do the work that comes with processing and healing. And yeah, hurt people. But yeah, that contributed to a lot of the chaos and stress in her life. And that is something that me as a grown up, as a 31-year-old woman that I am, I don't play with that. Honestly, I feel so light in talking about it now because it's something that I really had to sit with and heal through, and I'm still healing. Like, grief is just never ending. Who you become after suffering a loss is the most important thing you'll need to hold on to, because that person that you become is who is going to cradle you in those moments where you feel low and you feel crippled. Of course, the Holy Spirit, yes, he will be with you. But again, when you are in this life and you're dealing with grief and you're dealing with loss, you've got to learn how to self-regulate. You've got to learn what your emotions are. You got to really be self-aware, right? And you got to invest in that person that you're becoming, because again, the person that you're becoming is who's going to take care of you, especially in those low moments. Anyway, reeling it back in, because my story can go on for hours if I let it be. But yeah, after personal training, I was a store manager. I dibble and dabble in different, retail jobs here and there. But for the most part, as I was a store manager, I pursued training, and it was too much. It was too much. So I kind of just quit both and was like, okay, whatever. Eventually, after that, I went back into training. But when I returned to the company I was at, they put me in as a training director, and I was like, all right, I guess. The money sounded and it looked good, but salespeople know how to sell people. So when I got into the job, I didn't realize like, okay, you're going to be on like the director side of things. So you're not really going to be training the way you thought you were. You'll do quarterly check-ins. But in hindsight, I'll say this. I was learning how to do contracts. I was learning how to do follow-up. I was learning how to engage with clients, how to build rapport, how to just track, right? I was learning the structures of business, not necessarily just what to do in the role I was in. And so it did serve me in a different season. And so I'm grateful for what I learned, but I needed to keep it pushing. And so during that time, I was studying for my master's at the University of Maryland's online program. And yeah, it was in the back of my mind. My dad would always say, like, as an American, get a government job. It's the best thing that you can do. So in the back of my mind, I was like, you know what? I'll try. Let me try to get a government job because again, I also was a student that had a undiagnosed ADHD, and I didn't realize I did not do the best at school. I was like a C average girl. I just honestly, the fact that I graduate, thank God, because school was so difficult. So yeah, I knew that doing or completing my master's program was going to be huge because it would help me in my mind. It was going to help me secure another job, and I'm over just getting a degree. If you have the capacity, if you have the budget, the finances, the headspace to get a degree, get a degree. That's what I did. And eventually, September 2020, I graduated. That was during the time of the pandemic. And so here's where things got a little funny. When we got back to work, when I'm telling you, I made no money. Like, it was crazy. My checks went from like 4 digits to three. And so in the back of my mind, I was super frustrated because no one was coming to the gym, right? At that time, everybody was so scared. No one was. I mean, coronavirus was a whole thing. It still is to this day. But people were scared. They didn't know what it was. I was scared too. Anyway, after I graduated, I decided let me lock in and start applying. And guys, when I tell you I applied to over 120 jobs in the government, yeah, I was going crazy. So fast forward to February the next year, I got super frustrated at work. It was just such a toxic work environment. I had to get out of there. And so I ended up taking a leap of faith in February. And yeah, I was gone. I ended up totaling my car of course, by accident. But like, y'all, the amount of emotions I went through that month was insane. Anyway, so after that, after I took that leap of faith and just jumped out and, no plans in place, thank God that in due time, like in a short amount of time, he had placed me at the National Institutes of Health, which when I was in college was one of my dream institutes to work at. I just knew because I was a C average student, I was not going to get in. And so another little gem. Don't ever disqualify yourself, y'all. Don't ever disqualify yourself. Because I ended up getting in as a contract specialist, and I was doing contracts at the gym, and I didn't even know that was a thing. But when the time for the interview came around, and they were like, "Okay, what are you doing? Like, what's your experience?" Baby, I was. Hey, this is what I do. This is what I can do. This is what I've learned. I also just got my master's. Like, I was giving them everything they needed, and I secured the job. Thank God. But yeah, I was there at the government. And I was happy. Good pay, great benefits, great health care. And I was just like, you know what? Maybe I'm going to be here for a while. Now, as I was settling in my role at the government, I decided to pick up real estate courses. I was one of those girls that when I accomplished something, I didn't celebrate. I literally was like, okay, what's next? Now, that's not always the best way to handle things, but that's how I knew how to handle things. And I guess in hindsight, maybe that's how I handled my grief. It was just always picking up, okay, what's that next thing to do? And I really do believe that the Holy Spirit put real estate on my heart for one of two reasons, right? The first, my parents had a home. They had an asset and they did not do the best with it. They didn't really take care of it the way that it should have been taken care of. And I knew that they could leverage it in other ways. I just didn't know how. I knew there was more. Again, I just didn't know how. And so I was a little frustrated at them, or not even at them, but like mostly at my dad, because I was like, you're a homeowner. Like, there's so much that you can do. Now, again, did I know anything? Not really, because I'm, again, trying to find my stride and figure out what can be done. But there was a little bit of frustration that was there. And I wanted to educate other people and figure out for myself and for my family, okay, what can be done with this property? And the second thing was that I would always Google or YouTube how to become a millionaire. What do successful people do? How do millionaires, handle their money? Yada, 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 yada. And everyone always seemed to have real estate on their portfolio. So my theory was, okay, you need to get into the industry. You don't have the capital to. So why don't you get in through the back end, which is become a real estate agent? And that way you can become exposed to the things that you need to know. So I studied. It took me about a year, maybe a little bit over. I took the exam. Now you can do it way quicker than that. I just I took my time, y'all. I really did take my time. But I got in. I got my license following February, and I ended up affiliating with brokerage. Now the first brokerage I was at, they were pretty cool, but there wasn't something was missing. And I felt like I just got thrown into the mix and not really like, okay, where's the structure? Also, mind you, I was a solo agent. I came in as a solo agent, and I highly recommend to anyone who's looking to pursue real estate, join a team. It is the best thing that you can do because you'll learn everything inside out. Now, after about a month or two at the first brokerage, an old VP of mine reached out. He was at the sister brokerage of where I was at, and he saw my social media, reached out, and was like, "Hey, I didn't know you were at at the same brokerage in a way, or in that you were in real estate. Why don't you come and check out our team and everything that we're doing here?" So he brought me to lunch or breakfast, maybe it was something. Anyway, I ended up coming to their brokerage, and I sat in for one of their meetings, and immediately I was like, yes, transfer me. They were great at education. They were great. Their structure, their systems were in place. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to be a dual career agent, which means, work a 9 to 5 and then work this full time, I am going to need some structure. This is the place that I need to be. And so I switched my license and immediately I went over. Now, after that, I stayed there for some time. My father got really, really, really sick. And so I was one of his caretakers in the whole process. And it was heavy. It was, being there for a sick narcissistic parent. It's a lot, right? And so it takes time from your day, it takes time from your clients, right? And so there was just so much going on, but I was holding it together. I was still closing, I was still able to keep my head above water. So much to the fact that I decided to get my DC license and my Virginia license. And then it called for a transition. Now, as during that year, as I was, getting those other licenses, I also got a business coach. And her name is Nicole. Nicole, if you ever see this video, you are a gem. I love you so much. You literally changed my life. And literally, she did. She helped alter my brain chemistry and helped me realize that, girl, you're not just selling real estate. This is a business. You need to treat it as such. So let's take a deep dive into the areas that you need to work on and to the areas that you're already great at. And let's just leverage. And so it got to a point where, I got my DC and my VA license, and I was like, okay, well, I think it's time for me to look for a different brokerage because where I'm at now, again, they currently don't house DC and VA, and I need to expand. But also, I need somewhere that's going to have some structure and some systems and yada, yada, yada. And so she looked at me and she told me, you need to be on a team. What you're asking for is accountability. What you're asking for is a system. What you're asking for is structure. What you're asking for, girl, is a team. So I heard that, and as a solo agent, I was very hesitant. I was just like, what's my workaround? How can I work around this? By this time, my father had passed, he had transitioned, and just a lot was changing. And I just knew, like, okay, there are some things that you need to do and just get on board with. Girl, tighten up, right? Figure it out. So I really took the time to not just grieve, but to also pray and ask God for direction. I needed to be replanted. And I prayed and told him, like, hey, my heart is really in real estate and I need to be extended. I really am asking for you to enlarge my territory, God. Help me to like really be in this and be in this. And so eventually I interviewed with the team. They were amazing. I ended up joining them. They had everything that I was looking for and more. And I decided to commit after about 2 to 3 months of self negotiation. Y'all, when I tell you I was super hesitant, I was hesitant. But that's how I knew I needed to make the transition because, again, it was a little bit scary. It was out of my comfort zone, but it was something that I needed to do. So I finally made the transition onto the team and I loved it. And then, boom, in a couple of weeks, I got a letter from the federal government saying that I had been separated. And yeah, girl, that was it. I got cut. Um, So I laugh about it now, but at the time, y'all, I was sick. I was really like, oh my gosh, what is going on? I'm so nervous. Lord help. But God reminded me that I did pray for increase in this industry and that with that had to come a release. And so, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I'm going to say fortunately, all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord, to them that are called according to his purpose. It worked out in my favor. I have sold more. I have literally given my clients more time. I've been able to really understand the ins and out of my business. And I don't feel heavy. I don't feel burnt out at all. I don't feel now real estate comes with its own burnouts, and we can talk about that on a different episode. But honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. And I'm so grateful to be here today. I have literally sold millions. I help other agents get their career started. And I love what I do. I help first-time home buyers, repeat buyers, sellers, investors really find their route and make it to the finish line in real estate. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. So if you're thinking about becoming a real estate agent, or you're thinking about purchasing or selling a home, or even starting your own real estate portfolio, come and join me on this life roller coaster as we go through the ups and the downs, the good, the bad, the pretty and the not so pretty with real estate. And yeah, I hope you stay along for the ride. Thank you so much for watching my very first video. If you can give me a thumbs up, I would appreciate that. And please subscribe below. Also, I'll also put my handles for my social media down below. Follow me. I'll follow you back. I'm not one of those. But yeah, DM me, message me. Tell me what video you came across, or tell me how you came across my page. Tell me a little bit about yourself, your name. And yeah, let's become friends. See you guys next time. Bye, friends.
One.